The festive period is characterized with people driving at breakneck speed, and with the roads as bad as death traps, so too many people hop in their cars without precautionary motives or measures, be it for themselves, their passengers, and the vehicles. And as the NFOR festivities narrow, we take an interest in the protection of lives out in Cameroon. It is better to be late than never to get to your destination. You're welcome to The Brief. I'm Kejang Henry Atebe. You're welcome back. They are masters, or you call them experts in the domain of defensive driving. And as we are talking end of year festivities, we know very well that many people will be hitting the road or are already hitting the road to go for the festive period. And of course, they have to throw light on the necessary measures that we need to take during this very rush period. My first guest is Pastor John NFOR. He is the author of the book, Godly Manners of Driving. He published to road users and how they must impact on safety and to have a drive right to their respective destination. Welcome, Pastor John.
Thank you.
And of course, Emmanuel AYUK is, of course, a monitor with a driving school, the only person who can tell you that car owners have the keys or the car keys, but then they have the life of people and the life of themselves. You're welcome.
Thank you, sir.
And we are equally expecting Mr. Kilian NYUYSEVER. He's a social critic, and he will equally throw light on how we need to drive responsibly on our highway, prone with a lot of accidents. Hope he makes it on time. We'll be right back. Welcome back. This book is written by Pastor NFOR John. It is called Godly Manners of Driving. In fact, it is a premiere. Pastor John is a minister of the gospel with the Cameroon Baptist Theological Seminary in the northwest of Cameroon. And of course, he has the concern of lives and that of not only his lives, but then saving the lives of other people. That is why he came up with the practice of godly principles of driving. Now, thanks very much, Pastor John, for coming. Why responsible, why godly manners of driving?
Thank you so much for inviting me for this program tonight. I'm so grateful for you and the theme of Canal Day. I pray God bless you.
Thank you.
And my dear brother, Mr. AYUK, thank you so much for being there so we can throw more light on this and help lives out there. Why godly manners of driving? I came up with this because of the reckless driving on our way and how people die carelessly caused by drivers, people who do not care about the lives of others. And what they care about is only how to make quick money. And so when I've been a driver for so many years, and so when I see things like this, how drivers do comport on the highway, it disturbs me. So that is the reason why the Spirit of God ministered to me to come up with something that we as Christians, we as people who do understand what driving is all about, and we are on our highway, we should understand that driving or an idea or knowledge of driving is not by a personal thing. It's about God. God has given us a talent to drive. And so if you want to drive in such a manner that will give God the glory. So that is why godly manners of driving came about.
And when I read from the introduction, chapter 1, there is something that is killing many people today more than COVID-19, which means that it's a recent book. And you're talking about road accidents, of course, with very startling statistics of about 1.3 million people who die on our roads every day. But then when we look at these statistics, empirical studies have established that, well, more accidents as a result of human factors, speed, overloading, non-respect of road signs, giving a figure of about 1,000 people who are killed on Cameroon soil, on Cameroonian roads every year. Does that actually frighten the people, or people don't bother about the figures?
That is why you see I put it that it is a virus. We call it COVID-19 virus. Accident is another virus that kills more than the COVID-19. That we need to get into the vaccine that will help the Cameroon population to see how we can be able to come out of this virus that is killing people on our highway. You just mentioned something about the loading of our cars. I have been a driver, I've been in buses, I've been in taxis, I have seen horrible things. When we look about the capacity of a certain car, every car have a kind of load that car needs to carry.
Recommended load.
Recommended load that you need to carry.
From fabrication.
Yes. But when you look at our roads today, you will discover that a load that maybe a pickup should carry, a taxi is carrying, and with load and with people inside. Which means that when you carry a load that is above the car, that is already a problem, because to control and manage a car on the road is a problem. And so those are some of the things that helps to cause a lot of accidents on our way that we need to look into with critical eyes and solve it.
Now, let me just swing to Mr. AYUK. Emmanuel, you are a monitor with a driving institution in Cameroon's economic capital. Knowing very well that you have monitored too many people, mentored them, and they have acquired a driver's license, have you ever wondered whether those you have monitored are equally responsible for the accidents that we have on our highways, or they are not the ones that are trained by people like you, an expert like you?
Okay, thank you so much, sir. Thank you for the privilege that I'm here today at Canal Day, and thank you, Mr. John, for coming with us.
It's a pleasure. We are happy for that.
Okay, sir. I will go straight to the point. The first is that most drivers nowadays are drivers that learn their driving in the quarter. They don't follow the main rules which are required by the law.
In car wash.
In car wash, in the quarter. So, actually, what we do teach in the driving school, following the basis from the first day, from your introduction of the car, making you to know that the car is simply what? It is what? A device which have tires, enabling you to drive. It needs what? A good maintenance, and for the safety, and looking at also the quality of a good driver. A good driver must have mechanical knowledge, and a good driver must have what? Driving knowledge. A good driver should be not somebody that drives in a quarter. It should be that person that has gone through a training. That training for about 2 or 3 months. It requires that a driver can drive a vehicle.
Now, let me just say, you just talked about a good driver having a knowledge of mechanical training too. Do you teach mechanical training in driving schools?
Okay.
Or just the basics on how to change the tires, on how to change the oil, the filters, and so on? Maybe that should be, or a whole course in mechanical engineering itself?
Oh, not actually, sir, but I do give a basic knowledge of mechanic.
All right.
So it shows that for you as a driver, you must be able to know the check rules. So the vehicle maintenance, you should be able to check your tires. If your tires are in good condition, because in the driving school manual that I wrote, in chapter 1, part 1, which talk of the notion of a car, we do have verifications. So every morning before a driver moves out with a car, you must carry out these 5 essential verifications.
Thorough verification indeed.
So these verifications under the car to make sure that there are no leakages on where you place the vehicle. There are no living things like children or dogs. So we must be careful whenever we are observing this. We must check around the car to see the 4 tires are in good condition. And we must also check inside the boot to make sure that we have a spare tire in case of a one tire. Or we must also check inside the car to make sure that we have the necessary car documents and the driver's license which are required for a good driver. And we must also check inside the bonnet to make sure that there is oil in the reserve. We must make sure that the cooling liquid is available in the radiator. And we must ensure that the various oils of the brakes oil and the others are intact to make sure that we are able to take the road, because there it is planification that enable us to pick the road.
Now, how do you feel, or how can you easily decipher that when you get on board a bus or any vehicle? Can you instantly decipher that this is a good driver, this is a bad driver? You can get to your destination safely.
Okay, now looking at the behavior of a driver from the speed, from the way he moves the car, his speed, and also the respect of other road users that we might find on the way, like the pedestrians towards a pedestrian level crossing, a railway level crossing, or might be at a road junction. How does he maneuver at that particular level if he is not a dancing driver?
Inattention.
Yes. So if he is attentive with other road users, if he is not surprised to with other road users, so all those counts.
Now let me speak to Pastor John 4. Godly manners of driving with a lot of quotations, but here you've enumerated quite some factors that are maybe responsible for the number of accidents that we have on our highways. Amongst them, which is very catchy, is rest. Yeah. And in it, you actually quoted the Bible, as usual, that on the last day, or on the 7th day, God had a rest. So too, drivers should have a rest.
Yes. You know, when we read through the Bible, for people who are Christians and people who love the Word of God, and you discover from creation, God created the world. He created everything in 6 days. Number 7 day, he rested. And the question there, somebody should not say, if God rested, it means he was tired. God cannot be tired. So the thing there, the main thing that God is talking to us human is that we need rest. In everything you are doing, you need rest. And so when you come now in the context of driving, that is the center where we need much rest for anyone who is driving. And so just for 5 minutes, you do a small walk before you come back into the car, before you move. If you are living from here to Betua, I think there is need even for the government to put a place of rest where compulsory a driver must park and then sleep at least for 1 hour before he moves.
Yeah, but people need to catch up with probably their appointments.
Yes, sir. Okay, so you realize that what he is saying is actually the truth. Not only the person, the driver needs rest,
yeah.
But automatically the vehicle needs rest too. Yeah. Because a vehicle cannot work for 24 hours alone. It is an engine. It means that it is adamant to
any breakdown.
To any breakdown. So that is why the vehicle needs to rest at least an hour or 30 minutes to have what? So that the system should be cool before any take off. And as for drivers, a driver needs quality rest. Yeah. A driver doesn't need to catch up because maybe he is planning a particular program that he needs enough money. So we find our drivers today, they use bitter cola, all what to keep
them awake.
To keep them awake just because they want to meet up with their needs.
Yeah.
And will we say it is godly when you probably go against the law of nature to get yourself involved in an accident?
That is the point. If you go against the nature of rest and you want to catch up with something and you get into accident, then you have yourself to be blamed. I think God himself will hold you responsible because you have not had rest. Let me just go back to something he said. A car needs rest. And that's why we can see on our roads today, you will see a car will just go vroom, Bamenda and back, and then it's going back, and then out of a sudden, fire.
Overheating.
And we ever asked the question, what caused the fire? People will say, no, there was an electric problem. The car needs to rest, because when you punish your car, even as a human body, you know, you also fall down to sickness.
And some people say, well, I want to do an aliri too.
And
yes. Immediately he drops the parcel or maybe picks up something. He hits
moving.
the roads back without even having the rest, maybe 30 minutes like you recommend. Now, let us look at these statistics. Cameroon records an average about 16,583 road accidents each year. And, of course, about 1,000 people have died. Well, the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa is talking about 6,000 people, as WHO and the economy, which is representing 2% of all accidents on our roads. Now, AYUK, the festive period is a period where people are rushing a lot. And as we speak, there are those who have already booked for their journeys this night or this evening. Will you say what will you talk about these night travels? Is it part of, or people should not travel at night as measures to avoid accidents on our highways, knowing the risk on our roads that we have?
Okay, sir. Thank you again for this opportunity. Firstly, driving at night is very difficult due to the visibility is reduced. Even the driver doesn't have quality view on the road. And more to that, coupled with our bad roads. Our roads are not good enough. So as my own point of view, I don't advise people to be moving too much at night.
Yes, at long distances.
At long distances, because the road is busy, there is overspeeding with the car. And at that particular point, a driver does not respect the radar or the speed limit, because he knows that he will not be caught by the radar which is on the way. So it is advisable at this particular moment for each and everyone to travel during the day due to the congested nature of our road. And more to that, of the potholes that whenever he is driving at night. There are roads where we don't have We don't have guardrails. We don't have guardrails. A driver using a bend at night doesn't know where he places his tires. So at that, or might be bad the lighting system. The lighting system might not be good.
But some drivers will tell you, I have a master of this road. Every day I pass there.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's where the problem is.
Because the driver will pass this day, today, he comes back, he passes there, then he will tell you there is a speed break there, even if there is no sign of a speed break.
That is where the problem is.
But he has a mastery of that road.
Yeah.
And he knows where he places his tire. Yeah. I remember I was driving down the La Falaise. I was marveled by the way the guys who operate the 70-star buses are manipulating. But I cried. First of all, you're talking about visibility, extremely reduced. In fact, visibility was -0. So, will you say, like you was talking, understanding the road like you have in chapter 4 of this book?
Yep. I think that is the problem with drivers. People think that they know how to drive,
and then they master the road.
And they master the road.
Every point of a pothole
you master. Then the question I will ask those kind of drivers who think that they know: if you drive from Bamenda to Douala and you master the road, and if you are going back, there is work going on, will you know?
You will certainly not know.
You will not certainly.
Or you come and you discover that maybe the pothole has been sealed. And you suddenly say, since I master, you apply. How do you put it? You apply the brake,
Yeah.
and suddenly
You apply the brake brutally.
and the car somersault.
Capsize.
Yeah.
So in that case, actually, a driver doesn't know everything on the road due to what the particular road that he uses. First of all, you are a human, and more to that, you must be able to learn. Where am I supposed to speed up with a vehicle? That's why we need to be patient and be careful whenever we are driving at that particular point.
What is the recommended speed on our road axis?
Now in our recommended speed as such, road in town, their speed is limited at 60 km per hour. Now road out of town, their speed is limited at 90 km per hour. That is when places are wet. But they say 110 when places are dry.
But people move to 160.
But people move to more than 180, 200, depending on the vehicle, because they want to catch up with time. Then
catch up with people's life.
Yes. Then road, like express road, the speed is limited at 110 when places are dry. But when places are wet, when places are wet, that's the rainy season, 110, and when places are dry, 130. But it is not recommended. No. Okay, I will take, for example, we was it 2019, half of the uncompleted motorway road from Douala to Yaoundé was open. But about 30 people died on the way because many doesn't know the use of a motorway road. They are not familiar with it.
They're just getting used to it.
Yes. So instead of them running at a speed that is convenient or to avoid accident, they speed as if it is...
Yes, Pastor.
He was saying something about the visibility in the night. Do you know in the night, sometime traveling, you see a lorry or you see a car that's supposed to have two lights. It's having one.
Yes.
Yes, that's true.
How will you know whether the light is left or right?
Or right.
Or the car is moving on its lane?
That is a problem. I am driving this way, car is coming this direction, and it's having one bulb. If I want to overtake, I think maybe that
driver and sometimes the security officers on the highway who will not stop that car from continuing the journey.
I think, firstly, I would blame the driver because you know the state of your car. I recommend that before you even beg somebody's car to drive, first of all, you should ask the person, are these things okay? Brakes is working, lights are okay before I plate the main road. Secondly, I will blame the road safety because they are there to check this thing, not to check just to give me a papers.
Or
and
give me
the
pharmacy box or whatever.
Yeah, it's not only about that. You need to control the light. I think once, was some years ago, they checked me and asked me to put my headlamp. Let them check on the highway. Check my spare tires. Some people run on the highway without a spare tire, without the light. One light, some even have torch. I have seen it, witness somebody driving and the torch is there, pointing to see the road. So with those kind of things, you discover that we are running, catching up with programs, and at the end, we catch up with people's life.
We are catching up with people's life. We know that many people, when they hit someone on the highway, the first thing is for them to run for their own safety rather than moving to assist that person, as recommended by monitors and experts in driving. Do you see that? Because when you see someone hit and then he runs with the car and rushes to the security or to the gendarme or police and reports himself first before, rather than saving the life of that person, allowing the person to nap in the interim.
Mm-hmm. I think the first thing as a driver, if you hit somebody and the person is still alive, help the person. But if it's somewhere that you will face mob justice, where they will stone you.
That is in Cameroon anyway.
That's in Cameroon.
That's in Cameroon. You need to find your way to the gendarmerie.
Right.
But if you are somewhere that somebody is still battling with life,
you should help.
Don't run with it.
No.
Don't run.
I think the population might understand that.
Okay, sir, to add something to what we talk of assisting victims of accident. You might not be the cause of the accident, but you are there to assist someone that is blocking an accident. So in that particular place, so we put in some rules and regulation that would enable. So you are not going to run away to report yourself to the police station while the person is dying on the way. You must assist and even have to call what? The police officers so that they can meet, they can know the exact state of the person. And even if it is to bring an ambulance
or the emergency department,
to see what, to know the exact state of the victim. You are not just supposed to run away, that I'm going to report myself and you allow the victim to die alone.
Some don't even run to the station.
So they just disappear. They run with their life, they disappear. They don't even report themselves. Now, well, let us just get to Stephanie Chin. This report by our own Stephanie Chin on what we have to do. When we'll come back, we will continue our discussion.
Few days to end-of-year festivities, travel agencies are crowded with passengers who are either leaving Douala for other towns and villages or some who have just arrived Douala to celebrate with loved ones. To ensure their personal security, passengers have their seatbelts on as they take off for their respective destinations. I am seated with my seatbelt on. On their part, the managements of organized travel agencies are doing everything to ensure the safety of passengers. One of the moves is for the drivers to respect speed limit, avoid overloading, and the scrupulous respect of the highway code. The speed limit authorizes 80 kilometers per hour. Some buses like that of Alassane have surveillance cameras installed in order to monitor the driver's activities and any form of misconduct. Following up drivers with installed surveillance cameras in the bus isn't just for us to watch their activities, but is equally to call them to order in cases of excesses or lack. Agencies like this one have provided rest areas for their drivers. Thierry drove all night and is resting now. He will only resume work later on. After 4 hours of driving, rest is imposed on drivers. I arrived Douala this morning, and since then, rehabilitation to ensure the branch manager that he's hitting the road. We equally carry out alcohol tests put at our disposal by the Ministry of Transport. All these safety measures have been implemented recently in order to limit cases of road accidents.
Well, thanks very much, Stephanie Chin, for that brilliant report there. Gentlemen, what was really catchy in that report that you probably must have been wondering whether it is not highlighted all?
You know, they have said things about their agency. They have talked about their own way that they want to fight against
in an organized transport system.
And so I think it's very good. And I wish that all agencies should be like that. Because there is something, I have seen people sitting with seatbelt. When you get into some 70-seater buses, you will not find a seatbelt. And in that very car, you have people who are jam-packed more than the number
the recommended
that is recommended for that car. There are people there sitting with no seatbelt.
I don't want to call names here because I traveled to Yaoundé 2 weeks ago and I cannot tell you what really happened. The attitude of the driver stopping at a day. By the time we got to Yaoundé, we spent about 10 hours. So what was really interesting in that report from by Stephanie Chin?
Okay, thank you, sir.
I saw you taking down notes.
First of all, she said something about the cameras for surveillance. But is it necessary to watch every driver on the way? The driver is supposed to master the speed limit with the accelerator. So he is
without
the driver.
Being monitored.
Maybe
the attitude of the driver vis-a-vis the passengers.
Yes. There are some passengers that are not happy. And secondly, I saw she talk of alcoholic test. Is it in Cameroon? Do we apply that? I don't think so. Because
once in a while,
those psychoactive substances.
Yeah.
Because a driver in Cameroon will tell you that when I drink alcohol, I see well and I can drive well at that particular.
What about those, for example, we have all been flying Douala West. We get to Melon, we stop there. I don't know if some of these drivers maybe drink, share some meal, and then drink, and then hit the road. Is it necessary?
No, sir. According to the highway code,
even a drop of alcohol?
No, the alcohol, you can drink alcohol when you are at home, but not to drink alcohol and take up the steering wheel.
I mean, just a drop?
A drop of alcohol, it is not necessary.
You know, the drop, we don't know the drop.
We don't know the type of drop. The drop,
may be a bottle.
Drop can be 4 bottles.
Yeah.
Drop can be a crate.
For you.
So I don't know about the drop that you are talking about.
Yeah.
It can be a crate. It can be 20 bottles itself. So it is not necessary for a driver to take alcohol to drive. So you must arrive your destination. Might be why in your home you can take something.
Because you need rest. Maybe you have to hit the road again.
That's true.
Yeah.
Now, yes, Pastor.
It is what you are saying. I think, you know, when you say drop, there are some people who think that I cannot take a bottle of beer and it's enough for me.
That
so,
we are on the way with the highway.
Yeah. You mentioned melon. Everybody
stops at melon.
Stops at melon to do something.
To stretch out.
Yes. But I don't know who is watching the driver.
That's true. Nobody has even bothered to watch the driver.
To watch the driver.
That's true.
Because I think that if we get stopped at melon, cameras in the car. When they get stopped, who is carrying on cameras?
Maybe they have a relay.
Might be
from their system.
There are cameras on the dress of the driver. Maybe they are watching the driver even when he's out to ease himself.
Because I learned, she says the cameras in the car, which means that after the car, who watches?
Nobody.
So I think that if we can think on ways to fight alcohol, there is another thing that we're talking about is alcohol. When you go to agency, that's where they say alcohol. They are selling alcohol in agencies. That is where people are traveling. But that is where we have bars. Drivers need to take something and move. So I think we can set barriers on the road to check. That should be a better way, not only in the park, but checking at the road to see whether this man has taken small thing or not. That should be maybe ways to fight it well.
To add to it,
yes.
If the alcoholic test can be applicable, it would be good. Then, so it shows that the person that is always with the driver must make sure that he checks the driver if there is a little bit of alcohol in him before he takes the steering. Even if he has to stop to rest on the way, you need to check him.
But do you think drivers, you who have been monitoring these drivers, do you think they are now becoming more and more conscious on the highways?
No.
That is to say, the driver's attitude is has very little effect on the...
We have, like when we talk of like accident, there are 3 persons that are the main cause of accident. But the main cause of an accident is the driver.
Sure.
Distraction. He is not attentive. He is manipulating a mobile phone. He is drunk. That is, the highway code said...
And quarreling with passengers.
And quarreling with passengers.
Eating.
So eating while driving. Making calls while driving.
Yeah.
Those are some of the causes of the accident. Before now we can talk of what? The road. That contribute about 30% of road accident. Then we talk of the car, the maintenance of the car. But the main cause of an accident is the driver.
Yeah.
Now, let me just go to chapter... Pastor, let me just go to chapter 5 of this book. And there's an interesting thing, and all of us are going to share this. Impatient driving. A story is told of a man who took a narrow path that led to his house during an intense evening traffic. As he drove through this path, many vehicles immediately aligned behind him, bumper to bumper, thinking he was leading them through a deviation. Unfortunately for them, this man was driving to his house. When he got home, he drove in and shut the gate. All the drivers who followed him behind were stranded. That's an interesting one. So, why that anecdote?
You know, it happens. I saw it.
Yeah, because people want to follow. You see, you follow and then you got stuck.
Because where you go out now, you will see traffic.
That's true.
So people are looking for ways, so they don't care where the car is moving. somebody's going to his house. As they saw cars, everybody's moving. But this man is going to his house. And one path leading to his house.
So they thought it was a division.
Yeah,
and people were chasing him or
following him so that he will take them the other way and meet the road.
So he just got and entered the gate.
He horned, and then they opened the gate. He gets
shut
inside,
the door.
and then they shot. The people were stranded. No way to turn, because in Douala, when people are already, they don't care. They don't care. If you are saying that, go back. Nobody's
ready to go
because we are moving ahead. So you see.
That's interesting indeed. Now, let us meet Morindi, because when we are talking about drive, we are talking about safety and security. And it doesn't only limit to the highways. It even involves urban transportation and even on bikes. Do you train people on bike riding?
Okay. Now, bike riding, we don't train people. Most of the bike riders that come to school, they come there for their license. It means they take their theoretical lessons and they sit for the exams.
And the practical is done?
And the practicals, they do it by themselves, which is not okay.
But why don't you? It means you are not helping them in acquiring the driving knowledge. Because you allow them to come register for the exams, they pay the money without teaching them.
But, okay, sir, but depending also on the institution of the institute.
Anyway, I know you are the monitor of
the English department.
Department of
European Driving School.
That is interesting, of course, one of these top schools, that teach driving. Now, do you think it is necessary for them to have that knowledge?
Yes, it is very necessary, because looking at the first category, which is on the bike category, A and B, the two goes together, because the same way there is a particular level at which a bike man doesn't know how to use an intersection, or might be respecting a pedestrian. Most of them, they don't respect. Now, we'll take off the highway of Bonamusadi up to Ecole Publique. There is no speed brakes. Collide between themselves, between cars, between pedestrians. A pedestrian have no way to cross even the road because of the bikes. It is poor. So it is necessary for us to have what? A good training on bikes.
And of course, this is one of the recommendations by the government. And we know recently that there has been security meetings going on to help these bike riders, who most of them are causing troubles. Now let's get Morindi, because the Minister of Territorial Administration is in Douala. The governor has taken measures to make sure he brings these guys to order. That too is driving. Let's get this report by Morindi when we come back.
Insecurity remains a disturbing challenge in Cameroon's economic city, especially during this end of year festivities. The growing concern that adds to the constant panic by a group of urban gangsters called Lemicrop has provoked an outing of territorial administration boss to Douala. Paul Atanganji is coming after Littoral Governor took measures to tighten security in his region. Today's meeting held behind closed doors.
Minister Tanganji came to Douala to evaluate the level of the execution of our security measures that we have taken concerning the insecurity. Is not appropriate for this city. But nobody said that I caught this microbe. And but we have just taken this opportunity to strengthen our security measures.
As from January 2023, bike riders will have to comply to new measures of registering and immatriculating their motorcycles before engaging in buying from importers.
From the 1st of January, we are going to ask all those who are selling motorbicycle to sell a motorbicycle after making immatriculations, after registrations. So you have to be identified before buying a motorbicycle.
The new measures imposed on motorcycles, according to union leaders, will help in establishing a database for proper identification of motorcycles in the city of Douala. The stringent security measures are intended to enforce order during this festive season.
Well, thanks very much, Morindi. Mr. AYUK,
Yes,
what
sir.
did you pick from that particular aspect vis-a-vis the bike riders?
Okay, from what Mr. Diodonet said, he said the registration of bikes, matriculation before it is being sold to them. Yeah, it is a good idea, but will that work for everybody? How about those who have stolen some bikes? Bikes which have been stolen from one region, which are being brought in Douala. How are we going to do with those type of bikes?
I think there are measures already, because they said if you cannot come with the papers to identify the bike or yourself as the owner of the bike, maybe you might not have it. That will be all about it.
Okay, that's a good point, which means that if you can present all the documents, and you should be able to present to also your license.
We know of cars that hit the road, but when you go through the checks, they will tell you the car has its what we call safe roadworthiness document, what we call visit technique. Does that disturb you?
Yeah, you know, with the visit technique is good, but in Cameroon, I am really afraid. Because if we see cars that have visit technique on the highway, you actually will be shocked. Can a car go through a visit technique with no light?
And come out.
And come out and have a visit technique, and it's running on highway. It has no brake light. It's moving in the night. It holds brake, you don't know, in Douala. So you see, when we talked about having visit technique kind of thing, I'm afraid, because there is nothing. There is no control, because I have seen people...
It means you just go pay the money.
Pay the money without the car going through the machines. I have witnessed it. So I think that we need to, if we are talking about visit technique, that car should go through it. Let it be something that we don't negotiate. And so when we see cars on our way, on the highway, you can identify that this car cannot have a visit technique. Just from a very prudent distance. Yes. Just looking at it.
Okay, sir. Now when we talk of visit techniques, now looking at the situation of our taxis. Now take example of our taxis. And also, I can remember in 2020, I went for a technical assistant document with my driving school car. It was rejected because the windscreen was bad. It was okay because...
Was the windscreen cracked?
It was cracked.
It has expired without even being cracked?
It has cracked, and there the visibility was no longer good.
It was reduced, that's correct.
And now looking at the taxis, if we can implement measures that the windscreen, they should be checked, because even the brakes should be checked. If all these things they are not there, they should refuse it.
They should reject issuing the roadworthiness certificate.
Roadworthiness to the person, because there it will enable the person to go for repairs, for car maintenance, and do a proper check of the car before coming to it.
And that is why you see on the highway, if they reject because your screen is cracked, but do we have cars on our highway without even this half of the screen? You don't see.
You don't see it.
Road. But they have a visit technique.
We are all living witnesses to an accident that occurred at Ndokoti, for example. There was a truck that rolled back and killed some people, causing a lot of human and material damage. That car, from every indication, was 75 years old. In fact, that truck was 75 years old from when it was made. But then that truck had a roadworthiness certificate. That's the paradox. It was 75 years old.
Okay, sir.
It had a roadworthiness certificate. That truck had a roadworthiness certificate.
So the first cause of that accident.
So who do we blame in that aspect? These guys of the visit technique, of the technical service, or the administration, or the drivers, or the car owners?
Okay, for me, I will put the blame first on the owner of the vehicle, because he is joking with what? The life of people, the driver, and the life of the people. Secondly, the driver, because he doesn't have any thing to do with his life. He doesn't take care of his life, which because of his life, he put other lives at risk. And thirdly, I blame the road users that are closer to that car, because there is what we call the following distance, the security distance, which we must allow. If it is with a truck, we must allow a particular distance so that in case there is brake failure or anything, you can easily try to do a quick reverse if there is no other vehicle that is behind you. Or maybe you can easily quit the car.
So
Yes.
I think that I will really blame the administration, because for me, there are some cars running on our roads that need to be parked, or that needs to
off the road.
Off the road. There are cars
should
like
dump
that.
in the scrap.
So I think that the administration should think of this kind of cars. We have camions loading containers with no brakes, nothing is shining.
That's true.
But they are there. Many years, hundreds of years, they are there. I've seen one at Carrefour Jeep. A driver is inside, and another motorboy is struggling to hold the steering while he's standing inside and he's stepping outside. And that is the car
was the
with a
steering wheel.
container.
It was not functioning well. Now, let us move back to the highways and look at some critical statistics. We know Cameroon, when we talk about global ratings in terms of accidents on our highways, Cameroon is 24th on the list of those countries that are prone to accidents on the highways. Well, do we think this situation can be better off? You as a man of God, you as someone who has published a book, Godly Manners of Driving, AYUK too, you have written too many books about driving. Do you think this situation can be better off?
I think so. And that is why I came up with this book, Godly Manners of Driving. Because if we flex our road, if we enter our road with the mind that we want to save lives, not chasing money, I think we will reduce accidents. We can fight against it. These accidents on our way, I think, and I believe so. If we put measures in place, rejecting some cars that are expired, let me put it that way.
Well, how will you reject a car, for example, in, let me say, a car that flies Bisongabang to, maybe from Bakebe, going to Bisongabang, going to all those other areas, or from Guti, connecting a car road to Osing, and so. How will you put off that type of a car off the road? Is it possible?
It is okay. It is not possible.
Good.
The first to identify such, to keep those cars off the road. First, we must have good roads. The government must build roads in our country, not bicycle lane, not cyclist track, main road. Now I can remember now in Nigeria, if you look at the road, the roads are open, and we have good lanes, good roads. When roads are being built, even the potholes will be reduced. More to that, application of what? The speed limit on a particular road. So a driver, we should have good speed brakes.
But we have times where some speed brakes are even invisible.
Sure.
You don't see them.
No sign.
That's because of no signboard. There are no signboard. The government did not. They don't place signboard on the road. Even if the signboard have been removed because of an accident, they should replace another signboard immediately.
Sure.
Let us take a look at these. More than 30%, like for interurban transport accidents, rather. 30% are drivers' inattention, like you mentioned. Speed about 19%. Drivers lacking control 18%. Do you think you are not doing better as people who are actually sensitizing the public? Do you think you are doing better? Or can you work towards reducing this percentage?
Yes, sir, but we can work towards reducing the percentage. Now, I am only an instructor giving you the necessary things that you require to drive, to stay on the road, and to stay alive on the road. But you realize that not every person or not every driver is going to follow up the same manual in which you want. Yeah. Now, there are some that even after their license, they go out that, okay, I'm going to look for somebody in the quarter to take me as to train me again, of which even the person in the quarter doesn't have the exact knowledge.
Or the aptitude.
Yeah.
Mr. NFOR, we're wrapping up with you. Thanks very much. Where do we get godly manners? Have you even put them out in the bookshops? Where can we get godly manners of driving?
Okay.
Have you written to the Minister of Transport? Have you sent copies to the Minister of Transport?
Still looking forward to do so. I'm struggling to get to the Minister of Transport to see how we can help this Cameroon, this our beloved country, to read this book and do organized seminars so that we can help to fight the accidents. So if you want to get the book, my numbers are there.
Okay, we'll now communicate to them.
You can communicate,
subsequently, or they can call us here at Canal.
Yes, so you can get it.
Oh, come on. Thanks, gentlemen. Mr. AYUK, thanks very much for coming to share your knowledge. I think we cannot digest everything.
Sure.
My pleasure,
because the roads are on. Thank you, Pastor NFOR.
Thank you so much.
And I want to thank you to televiewers for being there with us. I've been Kilian Henry Atembe. Stay safe on our highways. Goodbye.